This giant reclaimed timber is actually fake. It's hollow, lightweight, and looks like it was pulled out of a 100-year-old barn, but I just built it out of all new lumber. Let me show you how I pulled it off, using a track saw and some tricks to help bring the illusion of the reclaimed to this project. I'm starting with rough sawn 5/4 oak. It's fresh, but the texture of the sawmill marks gives it that reclaimed look once we get the finish on it. First thing we have to do is get this material down to a true 1-inch thickness. This is a little different that we would normally mill down material because we are preserving the rough face on one side. So all of our planing will be happening on the back side of the board. Make sure you sight the lumber and preserve the best looking face for the look that you're going for in the finished beam. Instead of a table saw, I'm using a track saw with a 45-degree bevel to cut the mitres. So all the seams land tight and the boards get a true straight edge. This beam is being scribe fit to a vaulted ceiling, so I'm sighting the board for a decently straight edge. Then I'm measuring down the distance I need, plus 1 inch. To be honest, my track saw isn't the best, and if I were doing a clean stained grade miter folded beam, as I have in the past, I would be ripping the material at a 90 on the track saw and doing the bevel cut on a table saw. I simply snap a chalk line to get a straight reference line. That's what I'm going to be trusting as true, and line up my track to. I am clamping my track down to avoid any wander in the cut.
Let's go.
As you can see, there's a bit of a bow to this board. It doesn't really lie flat. What I'm doing next is using a circular saw to kerf cut the backside, just allowing me to manipulate the beam enough to line up the mitres properly during glue up. Taping the boards with the rough sawn face makes this process a little different than normal. We're blowing off all the dust, We're dampening it to allow the tape to stick. I'm using tuck tape, which I normally would never use, but it's the only tape that would be strong enough to hold on to the rough sawn fibers. You really have to work the tape into the fibers themselves and make sure it has a strong hold. If the tape releases during the flip, then it is what it is, and you'll see that happens to me here as well. Now that you have your beam flipped over, it's time to glue up the seams. I'm using Titebond 3, which is my go-to glue for any miter folded beams we might do. Cleans up easy, spreads nicely, and creates a very strong hold. As I'm folding up this beam, I'm using 18 gauge brad nails just to hold it in place. We are manipulating these beams to match up and line up, but still they have a rough sawn texture, which makes it a little difficult. Thicknesses are a little different, fibers are a little different, and the 18 gauge brad nails ensures a tight fit that holds. There you can see the tape releasing, and all I'm doing is sticking it back on there. Now we have an assembled hollow beam. As you can see, the glue is bled through all over the place. Simply get your rag, clean this up as soon as possible. Try not to spread it too far onto the fibers. We don't want to do too much sanding because we want to preserve the rough surface. Here I'm adding some extra brad nails. And if you got a clamp across, you can clamp across. As you see, I've got that F clamp there. Then I take my X-Acto knife and I simply shave off the edges to give it that hand-hewn look. It's supposed to look like an axe actually milled this beam to size. Give it a quick sand by hand, just to give it that wavy look. I'm touching up all the seams with this color matched wood filler. Normally a no-no on a stained grade beam, but because we're going for that reclaimed look, the lighter edges actually give it a better finish. Now it's time for the finish. We gave it a light sand and blew off all the dust. When brushing on the finish, we actually have two grain patterns to pay attention to. One is the grain pattern of the board itself, and the other is the grain pattern of the cut marks on the board. I'm brushing lengthwise with the grain of the oak, and then I'm brushing side to side to fill in properly where the saw blade marks are. After that cures, it's time for the clear coat. We've penetrated deep into the wood fibers, and the clear coat is just going to give it that sheen that we need to finish this off right. There you have it, 3 beams ready for installation. In our case, we're cladding a structural 3-ply LVL on one of our builds, but this technique of the miter folded faux beams can be used on custom mantles, post coverings, or even on cleats to give a room a look of exposed timber rafters.